Alrighty, guys, Pixar has been on a little bit of an upswing. They had a little bit of a lull, I would say, during the pandemic. During the brunt of it, we had films like Luca and Lightyear, for example, coming out of 2020. But other films, such as, most people love Turning Red. I myself am not a huge fan of Turning Red, but I know a lot of other people did. Soul was really solid. And then you have films like Elemental and Inside Out 2. So they seem like they're heading back on track. And one thing I've talked about before is that I love this new pattern that they have going where they're doing alternating films, one original and one new, or one sequel, because I don't think sequels are inherently a bad thing, right? I mean, we just saw Inside Out 2 do really well. It's when studios over-rely on sequels and rely on nostalgia and IP, which, again, can work to a certain degree, but it's funny because we talk about sequels as if sequels are such a, dirty word, right, in terms of we want original content and whatnot. All the sequels, for the most part, because maybe they adapted from a book or a reboots or whatnot, but usually sequels came from original IP, came from an original movie. Inside Out 2 is an example of that. It came from an original film that was one of my favorite, if not my favorite film of all time. And so, encouraging, of course, to make original IP can then lead to really good sequels. So, case in point, we have some news here that I think is really exciting, personally. And I think a lot of people will think it's exciting, but I think some people will say, well, what's the point of making a sequel to this movie? We have news, official news from Bob Iger himself that Coco 2 is in development at Pixar. Now, before we get any further, it's important to point out this film is not going to come out until 2029. This film is a long, long way away, 4 years away. And Bob Iger says as much in his comments. This was during an annual shareholders conference, and he says, quote, "While the film is just in its initial stages, we know it will be full of humor, heart, and adventure, and we can't wait to share more soon." So this film is not even close to happening. It's probably just in pre-production, but still, it's an exciting thought to have a film like Coco 2 coming back. And I'm sure, right, that there are some more original films that are not being talked about, just because we wouldn't, if Bob Iger was like, hey, we're making a film called Headphones. I just saw Headphones on my desk, but Headphones, and it's coming out in 2028, and, we'll see you then. People wouldn't know what to do, right? People would just kind of brush it off. There are those bigger presentations like a D23 or whatnot that they'll talk about those kinds of things, like the movie about the beavers, Hoppers, right, that they're making. That's an original film. And so I'm sure that there are going to be more original films between now and 2029, because between now and 2029, you would be fooled to think, and it'd be understandable if you'd think that there are a ton of sequels and not much else, right? We have Toy Story 5 coming out, I believe, in 2 years. I could be wrong. Toy Story 5, we have Incredibles 3 coming out, and now we have Coco 2. And I would imagine that Inside Out 3 will happen sometime in the next 5 or 6 years, right? So lots of sequels coming out. But again, in between those, you have Elio. We just had Elemental. And we're going to get Hoppers as well, which Hoppers, the concept looks crazy, and I don't quite understand it, to be honest with you. It looks really weird and strange, but I would imagine that there are going to be a lot of original IP and original properties coming out, and I think that that's really exciting. So I'm enjoying the balance that Pixar is striking these days between original properties and sequels, because the sequels to the films that they're making, it's not like they're making Cars 4, for example, which they could make Cars 4 and it could be amazing, but, doesn't seem like anyone's clamoring for Cars 4, and I think that this is an exciting thing. I love Coco. I was a little bit late to it. I saw it a couple years after it came out, and it's one of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. I did one of my first videos on the channel is a Pixar tier list, and Coco is probably up there. I don't know if it's A tier or S tier, probably S tier, and I still believe that to this day. It's just one of my favorite films of all time, favorite Pixar films of all time. So guys, what do you think about the news that Coco 2 has been officially announced? Are you excited about it? Or maybe you're not super interested, but hopefully we can all get excited about it as it comes out. Let me know in the comments down below.